Since we often approach anatomy from a human standpoint, we often think of the reproductive, urinary, and digestive systems as being completely separate. Upon reflection, we realize in males, obviously, there is a connection between the urinary and reproductive systems, in that the vas deferens forms the ejaculatory duct, which empties into the urethra, and thus the urethra both transmits urine as part of the urinary system and sperm as part of the reproductive system. In more primitive vertebrates, the urinary and reproductive systems share portions in females as well. Even in many mammals, such as cats, the urethra empties into the vagina prior to exiting. The urethra is not a separate opening. But there's more. Originally, the digestive system, the rectum and the anus, also fused so that there was a common opening known as the cloaca for the urinary, reproductive, and digestive systems. All three of these systems ended in the cloaca, so thus there was only one single ventral opening through which all three of these systems exited. The most primitive mammals possessed a cloaca, as is evident in monotremes, the egg-laying mammals today, and even some primitive placental mammals such as shrews possess a cloaca. In humans, the cloaca exists in embryos prior to being subdivided, and there can be birth defects if this subdivision of the cloaca proceeds abnormally. While the cloaca is the ancestral character from primitive fish through amphibians and reptiles, even birds, there are considerable variations. For example, in the jawless fish, there are no reproductive ducts. The gametes are released into the ventral body cavity, and the urogenital sinus includes a genital pore through which the gametes pass from the ventral body cavity into the sinus and then the cloaca. The jawed vertebrates not only involve reproductive ducts which empty into the cloacal region, but also a urinary bladder, at least in females at first. The entry point is variable. Do the urinary ducts fuse with the reproductive ducts? Do the reproductive ducts fuse to form a common opening? This varies. Also, typically, urine does not pass from the urinary ducts directly into the bladder. So it was mammals which determined that the ureter should empty directly into the bladder. Instead, the urinary ducts often empty into the cloacal region, from which urine can be transported into a bladder for temporary storage before being eliminated. Cloacal regions can also include spermathecal tubes, which can store sperm after a female mates, and a variety of glands. So the cloacal region can be quite complex indeed.